Hi everyone, back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day on a lovely sunny day in the northeast, as you can see. Very windy though, hence my hat. My bonnet is not built for winds of this speed, that is for sure. So this is definitely going to be a rant because our friends at Premier League are at it again. Before I get stuck in, consider this a warning to any of you Ned Flanders Bible bashers that jump in the comments and say, oh, bad language, I was watching with my little kid and didn't like it. Now, if you're too dense to read the warning Mark puts in the description of the video, it is there below. It says we are over 18 and we're not suitable for children, then I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not happy about this Premier League scenario, and I am going to use some fruity language in the next few minutes. So that's your warning. Take your kids out of the room, or if you're not interested in that warning, then don't blame me and don't come back in the comments. If you're going to go watch content creators who don't swear, there's loads of them out there, one in particular who likes OG burgers. So let's get stuck right in then to the Premier League, and what have they done now? So these horrible, rancid, Cyril Sneer-esque motherfuckers have now decided to send letters of warning to the Premier League about some of these so-called dodgy player swap deals that they're doing to beat the PSR and FFP restrictions. And just the arrogance of the Premier League is absolutely fucking breathtaking. It really, really is. I mean, they have stitched this league up that no teams can compete. It really is. It's like a restriction of competition and trade. It really, really is. I'm fucking astounded that one of these teams hasn't tried to sue the Premier League yet for those exact reasons. I'm sure that's coming over the hill. But what is it all about? So as you all know, the Premier League implemented their FFP and PSR restrictions on clubs. They did Everton, they did Forest, points deductions, you know, both of them still managed to stay in the Premier League, so almost like they kind of spat in the face of the Premier League really as well, which is great, you know, massive credit to both clubs there. But they stayed in the Premier League, you know, they managed to overcome their points deduction, but they then tweaked it again. And they keep tweaking it, and they keep tweaking it. They just seem to keep finding ways to keep the other 14 clubs down and protect the little elite club of super club sixes that are just going to continue to take the piss in the market. You know, the prime example is the Jared Branthwaite situation right now. We'll get into the main reason for the video in a second with these player swap deals, but the Jared Branthwaite situation is thus. So Sir Jim Twatcliffe is obviously leading a bid for Branthwaite, who's valued at about 70 million quid, and he's bidding 35 million quid. And Everton have clearly told him to fuck off. Simple as that, really, right? But this is exactly the problem with his FFP and PSR thing. So he knows Everton are so close to the knuckle, and they have to do something to try and keep their head above water, or they're going to get done again. So he's taking the piss, and he's going in and he's low-balling for their best player, arguably their most sellable asset, thinking Everton are going to blink first. And they clearly have told him to fuck off, and rightly so. Why should they sell their best player for half price? You know, regardless of what these melt Manchester United content creators think, where they come in and go, oh, well, Everton are just being awkward here. Same as Newcastle are being awkward because you won't pay the bill for Dan Ashworth. If you want to take people from other clubs, prize assets from other clubs, pay the fucking bill, Sir Jim. But the problem is, the likes of Richard Masters and the Bastards probably summer on Sir Jim's boat in Monaco, the SS Twatcliffe, you know, in his tax haven over in Monaco, you know, when he's asking taxpayers to help pay for a new stadium for Manchester United, where that twat doesn't pay tax himself, or certainly not the rates that the rest of us poor working schmoes do. He's a vile, Mr. Burns-esque looking prick. But the sad thing is, he's probably in the same channels of social circles that these wankers who run the Premier League are as well. And going back to that, so the latest problem that they have is obviously some of these swap deals being done internally. Newcastle are involved in this in the shape of Yankuba Minter, which I'll get into in a minute. But the two main ones, I think, is Lewis Dobbin and is it Tim, pardon the pronunciation, is it Ogbonham from Aston Villa. So they look like they're swapping places in terms of Lewis Dobbin going to Villa and Bongham going over to Everton. Now they kind of cancel each other out, and the small value deals. I mean, these are fringe players, you know, academy players who are on the fringe of first teams. They're not massive 40, 50 million quid signs. They're not like Jared Branthwaite, you know, they're just there to kind of balance the books, and that's what people are trying to do. You know, you look at Leicester City coming up. I mean, they're about to do a swap deal with Dewsbury Hall, named like a National Trust site. I know Dewsbury Hall is probably one of their best players, you know, and he's been with them in the Championship. He stayed with them. He could have fucked off, but he didn't. And his reward for doing that is not able to play for Leicester in the Premier League. It looks like he's going to be heading over to Brighton, which will be a good move for Brighton, I'm sure. But again, they're just trying to keep their head above the parapet because they've just come back in the Premier League, and the Premier League already told them before they got promoted they were going to have sanctions when they came back the season after because of PSR and FFP. It's utter fucking bullshit. And you've got these businessmen, these guys walking around in suits and Bluetooth earpieces, go for Charles, these fucking wankers trying to turn around and act like they know what the real value of a player is. That's what they said about the likes of Yankuba Minter or Newcastle overinflating the price of the player, saying 30, 40 million quid. This kid has been on loan. And Feyenoord, one of the biggest teams in Europe, whether you agree or disagree with that, it's factual. Go look him up. He's blasted the Eredivisie. He's played well in the Champions League. He's done well in international football as well. And we're saying 30 to 40 million quid for a 19-year-old. Fuck me, Wayne Rooney was 30 million quid years ago. Yes, I know Minter is no Wayne Rooney, but inflation, motherfuckers, that's what happens. You can't buy a house for the same price that you could have bought 10, 15, 20 years ago. That's fucking gone up 10 times in price. So why shouldn't a player like Yankuba Minter be valued at 30 million quid? And who are these wanks to tell anybody what a player's worth? All they're doing is going on transfer market, looking at the value, and then just making a decision off of that. That's what we do for rumour has it videos. We don't know what the player's really going to go for or what the selling club wants from, what the agent is going to pitch him at. These guys are pure speculating. It's absolute bullshit. It really is. These horrible, rancid business guys are just destroying the sanctity of football in this Premier League, and they're making it nigh impossible for the other 14 teams to break the status quo. Make no mistake about it, no matter how much Sky Sports and TNT fluff it up, the Premier League hated Leicester City winning the Premier League a few years ago. They hated them breaking the status quo. They hated Newcastle qualifying for the Champions League. They hated Villa qualifying for the Champions League last season. They want the same 4, 5, 6 teams at the top of the league, the ones who've got marketable value, the ones that are out there with huge, big commercial revenues, and they're the ones who are able to spend in the market, regardless of the fact Manchester United are £1 billion in debt. They're still able to go and spend in the market, whereas Newcastle, who are backed by the richest people on the planet, aren't able to spend in the same way. Aston Villa have got rich owners. They can't spend in the same way either. The likes of Crystal Palace may have to sell. Eze, they've obviously got rid of Elise to Bayern Munich by the looks of it, all to balance the books. These teams are not able to progress or to strive for any success other than just surviving in the Premier League. And unless you finish in the top 4 or 5, the distribution of wealth just disappears. It dissipates the lower down the league you get. It goes straight back to almost pull you back, from being overdrawn, just back to having a balance in your bank account. You can't go and spend on players because you don't have massive commercial deals. And let's just recap here. So you can't go buy players because your commercial revenue isn't strong enough, and then stop you doing commercial sponsorship deals if they deem it unacceptable because your owners have some kind of already existing business relationship with those companies. That's what the Saudi deals that Newcastle did prompted the Premier League to do as well. So every single time it looks like that the Premier League has got any kind of chance of other teams reaching for that brass ring or succeeding, these bastards think of another way to keep you down. Honestly, it absolutely pisses me off to high heavens. It really does. These horrible bastards, it's so obvious. They're not even making any secret about it. They just want this league to be 4 or 5 teams at the top and everybody else just makes up the numbers. People used to take the piss out of the SPL for years being a 2-horse race. Well, Celtic and Rangers, the Premier League is a 3-4 horse race at best and has been for the past 10 or 15 years. The Premier League don't want anybody else to reach for the brass ring. It doesn't matter who buys you. And what's going to happen inevitably is these big rich consortiums are going to stop buying clubs, and these clubs might go into the red, go out of business. A lot of these football clubs, because they're skating so close to the edge because the cost of everything's so exponentially high. Player fees, transfer fees, agent fees. And they can't bring in the commercial revenues. They can't, develop the stadiums. They can't build or buy new stadiums because that hits them in the pocket as well. So they end up having a great new stadium, with no fucking decent players, and end up getting relegated. It's just they've just set up all the teams to fail in this Premier League. It's absolutely disgusting. It shouldn't surprise any of us because the legacy of the Premier League, as everyone remembers, if you're too young to remember that, I'll just take you back memory lane a little bit. This was set up by the biggest teams in England who wanted a bigger slice of the money pie. So they set the Premier League up and fucked everybody else off to the Championship now, which was Division 1 then. So it shouldn't surprise you that this kind of thing's happening now. But these current incumbents of the Premier League are just making things worse and worse, and it's absolutely disgusting. Not to mention the same 6 teams that they try to protect with their elite force field were the same 6 teams who wanted to fuck off and start their own European Super League. I'll tell you what I think should happen. The rest of the Premier League, the rest of the 14 teams should all get together with their legal representatives and either take a lawsuit out against the Premier League or they should just fuck off and join a league of their own and leave these 6 bastards to play themselves week in, week out. And then that's what we'll fucking do from then on in. But this whole thing with the Premier League is absolutely disgraceful. I'm sick of it. I hope the Premier League rallies against it. Listen, you've still got Manchester City with 115 charges allegedly of breaching financial fair play. The Premier League have got a big decision to make on that one. If they don't do anything about that, if they bottle and shake that, then it's open fucking season for teams like Newcastle United, Aston Villa, every other team that's got a bit of wealth by them to spend whatever the fuck you well want in the window. We've heard people like Gary Neville say, why can't the owners, the rich owners, put a pot aside, almost a safety net pot that says we can run the basic principles of the club, and as long as you got that pot to put there, then you spend in the market what you can spend in the market. This has to change. It really, really does. The Premier League is restricting competition. It's restricting trade. They think they're the best league in the world. You're not at all. You're strangling, you're suffocating every other club in the league, and you're just protecting a small minority and fucking the majority. But let us know in the comments below what you guys think about this. If this is the kind of thing you like, subscribe, help get us to 8K. We're only 100 off, so we're really, really close. Would like to get there for the first What's Scan of the season, which is coming soon. Pre-season's only around the corner after these tournaments are done. Like the video, help the channel grow, guys. Have a great day. We'll catch you later. Cheers.